Hello, hey everybody. It's just after 7:35 by my watch, which means I'm right on time. Obviously, um, I don't do the general time zone markers. I do mine based upon where I am inside of the time zone. So I'm actually being very specific and very punctual. Thank you very much. By my own frame of reference. Anyway, happy Friday. Hope you all have had a good week. Um, Thanks for stopping by and checking this out, whether you're tuning in now or whether you are tuning in some other point. The way I do these and the way that I've been doing them is kind of treating these a little bit like live tapings, basically. But I am trying to work towards a little bit of a format here. And so, yeah, what seems to work is kind of spending a couple minutes here at the beginning talking a little bit about what I've been up to over the course of the last week and musing on those things and talking about what my goals are for the session, what I want to try to do. And so I think it's a little bit easier this week because I can actually tie those things directly together. I've been doing a lot more work around here lately, trying to get to where I can demonstrate the full capabilities of the studio. A lot of this has just been me, blowing off steam or just trying to, reconnect with the muse creatively. And that's been great, and I appreciate the folks that have taken a little bit of time to come in and follow along with that along the way. But a major part of what I'm trying to do here, the idea of this channel in the first place, is that it is supposed to be representative and part and parcel of the idea of this studio that I have invested in as sort of my major part of my future, but also as as like a e-venue, like a broadcast space. And specifically, when I talk about these things, what I mean is like with the intention of, not just collaborating with people for myself, but also I would really like to bring in people that want to grow, that are at sort of a similar kind of place in terms of their own personal and artistic development, that would benefit from being able to have a practice space plus, where you get to go into a rehearsal. The word keeps coming up, processing, but that just doesn't strike me right. But to be able to come in and sort of really have something that's dedicated to the development of creative ideas musically at a higher level, and in a very specific kind of like studio specific kind of way. That's something that I know is a big deal to me, that I've always felt like there's the two things you never have enough access to as a musician. One of them is you kind of, at least I think a lot of us would have the experience of wishing we had more opportunities to play in front of people and just to play. That's a big part of it. It's kind of why you do it. So that's like the social aspect, the public part. But the other part is the if you enjoy it, the work of the opportunity to be in the studio and the kind of like the heady creative space that kind of comes with that, where I think that oftentimes, whether people recognize it or not, that seems to me to be the place where some of like the biggest, most influential ideas do kind of come to life. More so, I think, than in the context of live performance. I think that live performance is, of course, where the connection with the public happens, but the actual like creativity, to me, I think tends to be found and is like catalyzed in the studio. So I want to find people that are interested in that and where I can be in a supportive role to that. And I'm trying to do so many things here about just trying to, get these things running so I can kind of demo this. But yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Is that I want to sort of make it a little bit more clear with my limited, personage and my limited capabilities, musically, so to speak. I mean, not to deride myself, but I've got limitations of what I can and can't do, and I'm fine with that. But I want to be able to like facilitate and foster um, other people that want to come here and do this, and not have to split my attention. Putting, I have the producer hat on now, and I'm going to take it off and be the performer or whatever. I'm not going to do that here. I like the way the hat looks, so I'm going to leave it on. Don't ask about it again. The hat's staying on. Sorry, I got upset there for a second. I'm fine now. I'm just kidding. Okay, wow. My attention span's all over the place tonight, obviously, but reining it back in. Where I was going with that is that I would really like to be able to demonstrate to people in a way what can be done here, so that I can start bringing folks in here where I can completely step to the other side and offer my my support as a collaborator, where I'm not a performer in the group, but I'm sort of like the technical custodian, sound person, and happy to be a sounding board as much as is wanted or is not wanted. But I think really great work can happen here, and that's what I'm working towards here, is just showing more and more of it off. Now, again, you can only polish a turd so far, is what I've heard, and that's kind of what I'm gonna be demonstrating here, But yeah, I mean, I've got drums. I think I can get a decent drum sound here for like dirty rock like I do. That would be a whole other video to talk about, like how I see myself, what my genre is, but I can get a very presentable and kind of like the sound with a kind of personality with drums. I've done it a lot, working on individual projects here, and I want to bring that to the fore more. So after having spent several weeks of, when I started getting, not weeks, gosh, it's been months. When I started getting active on the channel here a few months ago, I had completely torn down the drums. I can actually let me add a little bit of production value here. Yeah, there we go. I completely torn down the drums because I wanted to kind of get back to the basics and do a little bit of reconnection with the guitar, which is what I've been doing. There I go. I make Smeagol. Ah! Right, this isn't good. If I don't have intention to where I'm moving, I'm just going to knock stuff over. So I'm just going to stay in place and in the interest of keeping this thing on the rails. But yeah. Wow, so now I showed you the other camera angle. Let's get back to it. All right, no, that's not the camera angle. Gosh. Amateur hour over here. There we go. When I started, I was kind of stripping back to the basics for me, which is to be a guitar player. That is the thing that I is really first and foremost for me as a player, even though it really hasn't been for quite a while now, for a number of reasons. Most of the people that are watching this, you probably know me and probably know a little bit about the evolution of the groups that I've played with, and the situations of people who have been in those groups who are not with us anymore, and as sort of matters of necessity, spent a lot of time going to kind of like a utility kind of role. Utility is not that's a word that gets used a lot, and I don't like the context of it. because it does it to me. It implies a little bit of a yeah. I'm kind of just doing something that's useful, but not necessarily wouldn't be my first choice. That's the kind of thing that I fear that it connotates. Help me with my conjugate. Um, I completely used all my brain power to try to come up with that joke, which was bad, and now I lost where I was going. So that's great. So, um, yeah. Oh my gosh, that really broke my brain. I don't know where I was right before that. That was definitely not a good pun. So anyway, while I'm trying to recover from that, hey, happy Friday. I'm Duncan. In case I do see there are a couple people out there now. There weren't when I first started talking. I don't know how long you've been there, but thanks for coming in and hanging out. I hope you're doing all right. And I was just talking a little bit about the work that I've been doing this week, what I'm gonna try to do with some of the playing here in a few minutes, and how it ties together with what my mission is, what my goals are for this space, for this studio, um, for this channel, as a broadcast platform, multi hyphenate. So yeah, so this week has been about. Oh yeah, that's where I was going with it. I lost track at the point of when I first started, gearing this channel up and started to, warm myself up to putting videos out, putting myself out there. I had completely broken down the drums, and I had just, stepped away from that for a while, and it felt really good to start playing guitar again. Took a while to shake the rust off, but over the last few weeks, I've been really excited about where I've been getting to with things. I'm really excited about the combination of equipment that I have at my disposal and what I'm finding myself able to do with it. It's been great. So the next step from there has been to bring the rest of the full rhythm section back into the fold. Rhythm section being the lingo for the sort of the foundation of a band, whether it's like rock band or pop band or jazz band. But basically your drums, your bass, whether it's bass guitar or upright double bass, and often piano. Now I'm really not up to speed with piano, and that's maybe a year from now that might be something that I'm making progress on again. But I've been working this last week to start getting things set up so that I can do some demonstrations here, kind of like on an impromptu basis, where I can sit down, lay down a guitar part, then work towards something that I enjoy, maybe loop that a little bit, and then hop over onto the drums, put a drum part down or a bass part, in whatever order. But working towards the demonstration of what like a full arrangement kind of sound can be achieved in here. And everything that I'm going to be doing, especially in the context of tonight, it's representative of what can be done in like a live stream context. That's the thing that I really most want to represent. Now the limitation is that I'm one person, so I'm going to have to put one part down, at a time. But with the separation that I'm able to achieve here, I am able to put in like a live group to do something that's going to have this kind of level of sound quality and clarity and crispness. I'm very proud of it. I've put a lot of thought and a lot of heart into what exactly I wanted to invest in to make that the case, and I'm so optimistic about what I'm going to be able to do with it, just based upon the very short time frame of like testing and building things up. But yeah, it's a really beautiful setup that I've got in here, and I only hope to make my enthusiasm contagious. Um, I struggled with enthusiasm, uh, trying to cultivate it, to find it over quite a while, over the last few years, and it's nice to be in a place where the muse is coming back. Um, and there's a lot to be said about that. That's probably a subject for another video. Um, maybe when I take a break, I might talk about that. Who knows? But at this point, I have been talking for quite a while, telling you about what's going on. That, like I said, is part of the format. I described a little bit of what I intend to do tonight in terms of like the layering of the instruments, so that you can get an approximation of what a small band's kind of performance might be like. Like, you know, start imagining this as a tiny desk concert kind of situation. That is really what I would love to be able to like, just as just the elevator pitch of what this is. You know, here we can do the tiny desk concert of Middle Tennessee. You know, oh, but there's got to be places better than that down in fucking Nashville. But where I am, you know, in the outskirts there of the Nashville metro, this is pretty good. So, anyway, I think I'm going to start shifting gears now towards the playing phase, and I'm going to need to sort of shift some of the microphones off here, like the room microphone. That's right here, you can see it. Maybe hear it too. Excuse me. And then I'm going to start trying to put some guitar down, because I did a few tests to figure out how this could work, and I have found that the best result is going to come if I lead with the guitar, and then usually it can go either way based upon the part, but drums or bass after that. But leading with the guitar is the best way. Even though I think sometimes I might come through and do an experiment where I just really give myself a backing track, where I just do a drum groove that's based upon a certain, you know, BPM, and fill it in from there. But if we want something like musical and creative, then it's going to have a lot more personality if I'm starting with a guitar part first, and then build everything from there. It'll be a whole lot less stock that way, that's for sure. So, hey, I'm going to start working towards doing a little bit of playing here, and happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in. You know, always keep in mind that there's the chat that's available if you want to, you know, say hey. I think you might have to be a subscriber to the channel to do that. Sorry that's a bit of a hurdle to it right now, but yeah, you know, I don't really have any other words that I can add at this point, so I think I'm just going to stop talking and switch over to playing some guitar. Oh, and hey, how about this? I will demo for you a little bit of the test that I made earlier this afternoon. This is so bad. I mean, it's each layer is like incoherent. So this was just putting down the first thing, just that pass. There was no actual attempt to try to make anything musical here, but I do need a little bit of transition music, and so I'm gonna give myself that kind of permission to play a little bit right now. And let's also just, you know, use that as an opportunity to make sure that the levels are kind of coming through consistently here. So here we go. Weird. Yeah, yeah, there's nothing musically redeeming about that whatsoever. But hey, at least that's a sound test. So it can only get better from there, right? Right. Okay. So let's see what's going on from here. Let me show you some stuff. And I'm gonna be over here from this camera for just a minute while I figure out what the hell I'm doing. So one thing I can tell you from the last few days is that I changed the strings on this guitar of mine for the first time since I brought it back from the shop. Um, and I don't like the strings that I've put on it nearly as much as the ones that came on it off from the bench. I'm not sure whether it's a difference of the brand or not, but the ones that I put on it, they were a really old pair that I've had stored in a case for easily a decade. So maybe it's not a brand issue. Maybe it's just that they're all old and funky and stuff. But also, I noticed maybe a little bit more in terms of like buzzing in places. Like I need to check and verify because it was listed as, usually when you see the string listings, it's kind of the width of the outside strings. So it was like 10 and point 0.1, 0.46, and maybe there's some variation on the in between strings. But I feel like I was getting more buzz and stuff. But what I can say is that I love the new tuners that are on here. I think I've talked about them a little bit. These are locking tuners, which means that they have a mechanism on the back. Kind of see how they have those turn screws, and those are basically pistons that will grab the guitar string and hold it into place. And that's a nice convenience to have when you have this Bixby style bridge, where you kind of have to wrap the string around and underneath of it in a way where it's easy for that string to pop off. So having that end kind of like secured makes that always precarious process a little bit less hair raising. And then this other feature that's so cool is that as you wind them up, it just automatically snaps the strings for you, nice and clean. I mean, look at that. Look at that! Look at that! Oh my God! Isn't that beautiful? It's probably out of focus as fuck. I don't know if you can see any of that, but you just have to take my word for it. And I wish they were paying me some money to say any of that, but frankly, I think that they probably pay money to not be associated with the garbage that I make. Their words, not mine. I imagine. This guitar is just has so much. All right, really need to get on with it here. Get on with it. That is what they want, right? So what I think I'm going to do first is I'm going to tackle a clean guitar part. I've been experimenting with going back and forth between my clean and my overdrive amp. And I really like the results that I've been getting. But I'm going to kind of try to layer some stuff. I think I'm actually going to do like separate passes for each of them. And that does make things easier for me in terms of sound issue. Last week was when I was first experimenting with the whole bi-amping thing. And I was routing both of the amplifiers through, you can see behind me, this 2x12 Marshall vertical cabinet, where you can assign a distinct separate input to each speaker, which is unusual for a guitar cabinet. Usually it's set up to take one, unlike, you know, like a stereo, you know, radio kind of thing. And having those two signals being mic'd in proximity right next to each other it had downsides that I hadn't thought about. It's obvious now, but yeah, just there's too much differential. The Marshall has quite a bit of like a noise floor to it, so it's better to keep those physically separated, so that I don't have to do some extra gating is what I ended up having to fall back on to address that. So a gate is exactly what it sounds like, making fun of a clip I've seen of Martin Hannett from Joy Division being asked that question, like, well, it's a thing that opens and closes, making fun of Tony Wilson, the label head and impresario, that guy. But the gate is basically a threshold, so that it's gonna. The way I was using it was to keep the signal from the loud guitar amp from cutting into the mix until it rose above that just hum, level, like basically the idle of the amplifier, which was so high that it couldn't really be situated in a speaker that was only 8 inches away from the other one. But now, since I don't have to have those active at the same time, I don't have to do that extra sound management process. But it's not a big deal to be able to do that. It works quite well, as a matter of fact. I like it, and it kind of adds an extra dynamic that I like to lean into. I'll probably demonstrate that some other time, but tonight the idea is that I just wanted to do just really easy, not ambitious, but just kind of coming up with like maybe 32 bars of a guitar idea, and then just rounding it out from there. So yeah, clean guitar part. Yeah, that's this my I like this idea. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking. Is I'm gonna start with the clean guitar part. The the foundational guitar part. Then I will probably do the bass part behind it, and after that, the drums, and then I will come back around from there to do the solo melody guitar part, and that will be the part that has the high output. Um, yeah, I like that idea. So that'll be fun. That'll keep things moving, and my gosh, it'll have to be better than me sitting here and just talking endlessly, endlessly, endlessly. There's looks like there's two people out there, which is ama- amazing to know that y'all are patient enough to hear me rambling like this. So, hey, uh, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking it out this long. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and actually try to maybe see if I can't get a guitar idea down. And that's the other privilege here is that I might be, you know, trashing some of these. I might do a couple of attempts before I come up with something that I like. So when it comes to this part, I do need to deactivate this room microphone. So I am going to go to radio silence here for a little bit, but only that way. I'm going to be very loud otherwise. So happy Friday! Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be fun. Well, it's nothing to write home about, but it's an idea, and it's very neutral, and yeah, it feels like something that I'm hearing a couple of things popping into my ear, so I'm just gonna jump forward and I'm gonna put a little bit of bass on top of that, just over the whole damn thing. Yeah, it's all a mess, of course, but maybe as you add little pieces on top of it, it'll add the semblance of cohesion. Maybe. We shall see. Okay. Well, I'm back into the room mic again because at this stage I have the benefit of I'm actually not going to be going through an amplifier through this next part. And as a matter of fact, let me give you all a little bit better of a camera angle for the next minute while I'm switching some stuff around. There we go, but I don't need that stuff. Okay. So this next part that I'm going to be working on, yeah, like I was saying, I'm actually going to be bypassing an amplifier altogether. With the bass, I'm just going to be going directly into the preamp array. I don't have a good word for that yet. But the sound that I've been getting, I've really been very happy with. And I think that you should enjoy it. Whether you're an audiophile or musician or whatever, the bass sound that this produces is wonderful. And just like everything else here that's kind of at the core of this, is that it's, it's tube based. Try not to decapitate myself. There we go. What the hell was I looking for over here? Oh, the base itself. That's right. So, I've done very little time introducing you fine people to this base of mine. This angle isn't as good. Here we go. Now we're gonna go back. Yeah. So this is my base. It is a Guild B302A, which means it's the Ashwood version. You can kind of see that maybe in terms of just, yeah, I think the lighting is good enough. The strap isn't. The strap is a bunch of bullshit. This instrument is next up on the block to be taken in for a setup. Oh my god, it is an amazing instrument, but also it needs a little bit of love. It's a fairly uncommon bass. I think that's one of the things that I particularly like about it. Unusual, not that readily available. I was actually just seeing a thing earlier today, watching Jack Black, oh my god, Jack White, talking about his philosophy of gear and trying to go off the beaten path and sometimes make things a little bit difficult for himself. That part I'm a little bit distanced from, but I really like the idea of finding kind of unique gear. That's why I've become a Vox V125 head, even though I sadly can't be using either of mine right now. My Climax apparently needs a complete retube, which I knew was possibly coming up on deck, but yep, it has gone from inevitable to arrived. So it is on the bench. That's why it is heading to the bench. But that's why I'm playing with the twin tonight, and its stead. Man, I miss it. And my V125 lead, it's still down at the shop. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm starting to worry about it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll make it through. Okay. But without any further ado, I want to get on with the bass. Okay. I'm going to need to play this back and figure out what key I was in and kind of find a bass part. So bear with me, please. I'm gonna start doing passes, whatever. I don't need to be recording the room mic. That wasn't a bass part, but I played it on one. So I don't know. Debate me, I guess. No, that's the way I like to do bass stuff, though. It's just completely, sometimes right in the pocket, just, and other times completely in left field, almost like a separate guitar part. I love all the people who don't play bass, like John Entwistle, Peter Hook, Jack. Well, I guess Jack Cassidy kind of did, but he changed it around. I don't know. Those are the two that really jump out to me, though. I guess you'd throw Phil Lesh in there. Not that I'm that familiar with him, but in terms of just I know my impressions of him and the fact that he was coming in from, because he and Entwistle started as high brass guys, right? I'm not a brass person, but I do know how to do that. Gosh, this is such a amazing. I love to play the bass. I actually really do. I think that's a part of the idea of me being really eager to take this down, to get on the bench and get it just a basic setup. I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I just want the action dealt with. I just want somebody who has the kind of patience and attention to really set this up with all the appropriate string heights, all that shit, to do that, clean it up nicely, and then just let me just have fun with this thing. I'm going to be doing a lot more bass playing as soon as that's dealt with, but gosh, let's see how hideous that was. Again, think of this as something that might fall in the realm of like arty post-punk, I don't know, as an excuse for it being hideously atonal or just, indifferent at times. That's my excuse for it. That's how I lean into it. I like it. I do. Even when it's a bum note, I try to make that interesting at the very least. Use it. So I'm gonna play back what I've got so far, and let's really think about this for a minute. Sorry about that. One more time. Well, I'm definitely the best me, whatever that was in the world. I'll say that. But that doesn't really say much either. Um, yeah, cool. All right, so from here, from here, I think I need to take like a 3-minute break. No, I'm gonna keep going. I want to go now. I do need to take a quick break because I really do need to take a bathroom break at this point. I apologize. Um, but I'm gonna come. No, I don't need to do that. I am gonna power through, and I'm gonna go ahead and let's get the drums down. Uh, then I'll take any necessary break after that. Yeah, the idea is going to be that I'm going to do this drum pass here. Hopefully just one. From what I'm kind of hearing in my head, I think I can probably just keep it really simple and be in and out with just the one. And then I will take my short break, and then I will come back to do the final pass with sort of like the solo lead melodic guitar stuff, and then we'll see what happens from there. So in this case, let's go ahead and start getting stuff ready for the drums, and the talkback microphone is going to be going off in the intro. So wish me luck. Oh, wow! And that should have been up before. All right, I hope y'all could hear me out there. Anyway, I'm going all the way off again. That was painful, people. That was musically what I wanted, and I didn't have the fucking kick drum on. So that to me is a loss. So we're going on in for a second drum pass that's definitely not going to be as good as the first one, but at least you can hear the full sound, of which you're probably hearing maybe 2/3 of before, in terms of how much the kick drum contributes. Fucking hell, don't ever produce your own show, people. Jesus Christ. Amateur goddamn hour. Ah, shit. Well, you can be the judge of that, but my opinion stands. The first drum take was way better, way more musically interesting, but completely insufficient because of the lack of the bass drum track. Second one, it's fuller sounding, but way more in my own head. Not what I wanted. So, forgive my frustration. Maybe, yeah, maybe that shouldn't be something that I share with you all. Or just trying to enjoy this, which is my intention. Y'all don't have to deal with my baggage, my expectations on this kind of stuff. But hey, I did it. And this is just for funsies, so this is to remind me, have fun with this shit too. It doesn't have to be a constant rat race with this kind of stuff. Comparison. So that said, I'm gonna go ahead and play this back now. In here, just this basic rhythm section track, and maybe take a break from there, and then probably come back and do a little bit of a lead guitar part on top of it, just for gratuitousness sake, and then kind of move into the end of this session for the night. So let's hear what actually happened. We think we know, but let's find out. Did I miss anything good? I know I didn't, don't worry. Yeah, okay. Well, that's on par for the basic mission tonight so far, which leads us to the final phase, which is just getting silly with some loud noise guitar stuff, which is where my friend the Marshall excels. Ah, yeah, this will be just the height of too muchery. I have no idea what I really want to do with this part, but it'll round out a mix. So let's just do it without any further ado, and then see what the final result is. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say that's what I call delivering on the premise of the premise of the premise. I wanted to get that many parts done. Nothing more than just quick and dirty, dumb, wrong, all the way through. Just to do it as an exercise, and I did it now. Kind of like Billy Madison, I wanted to see Blue Duck. And now that I have, I don't think I want to see another one. That was kind of a Blue Duck kind of thing right there. But hey, onwards and upwards from there. This is a new thing for me to be able to go through and layer parts. So I was happy that I was able to do that because, say, from a player standpoint, a lot of the times... I really need to remember to make these adjustments. I expect a lot of the talking earlier tonight is probably going to be inaudible for this reason. What I was just describing is a little bit of extra sound mixing on my side to go between the talking parts and the playing parts, where when I go from one to the other, if I don't make certain adjustments in here, it's going to sound like the vocal's really loud in my headphones, but man, it's not out there. So hopefully it's just picked up a little bit there, and you get the idea of what I'm going for. But yeah, back to where I started before I realized my technical gaffe. Being able to do this tonight, where I was pretty much able to go from one instrument to the next, without having to do major resets of like the levels in my own headphones and for what you're hearing out there, that made so much more viable tonight. Tonight made so many more things based on this premise viable. So it's unremarkable in and of itself, other than y'all came and hung out with me on a Friday evening, and I appreciate that very much. But there's going to be a lot more cool content happening on here starting now in terms of actually building like really cool original music. So that's where I think I'm going to leave it for tonight. Yeah, this is hard work. But it's so worth it to me. And I'm happy to be doing it. I'm happy to be, working on kind of a synthesis of all the things that I've been trying to do. If you're ADHD like I am, it's just kind of like everything all over the place at once. And this feels like that it has a semblance of meaning and purpose and, trajectory. I don't know why trajectory looks like that, but that's definitely a good reason for me to say thank you for tuning in. I've had a great night, and this was one of them. And I hope you all will tune in again some other night or day when I happen to do this again, of which there will be many more. So thanks, take care, and be well.